What I want to do is build the case that these soft skills have hard value in an environment, a work environment like this. Even though the culture of tech may not necessarily explicitly value things like empathy or other elements of emotional intelligence, implicitly, this is what makes people highly effective, no matter what they do. And I want to give you the neuroscience behind this and some concepts that might help you rethink what the elements of success are in the workplace. So here's the question. What is the relationship between raw intellect, IQ, and emotional intelligence? And by emotional intelligence, I mean how we handle ourselves, how we handle our relationships, the soft side of ability. I'm going to argue that because of the way the brain is structured, these soft skills have hard consequence because they are catalytic for whatever other abilities we have. They allow us to make best use of them, to apply them, and to leverage them. The predictive power of IQ for career success, it's been found in hundreds of studies, is somewhere around 0.2. That means it accounts for 4% of the variation. It's a very small factor. But to look at it in another way, in an organization like this, I'd like to introduce you to a concept that was developed by a professor of mine at Harvard named David McClellan. It's the notion of a competence. He said, if you want to hire the best person for a job, any job, don't look at their GPA, don't look at their IQ, don't look at their personality tests. Instead, begin by looking in your own organization at people who now or have in the past held that job, the one the person's applying for. Identify by any metric that makes sense the top 10%, the star performers. Compare them to people who are only average in a systematic method. Identify the traits or competencies or abilities you find in the stars and not in the average, and hire people who look like the stars. That's called competence modeling now. It's a very widespread methodology among world-class organizations who use it to find out who should we be hiring? Who should we be promoting? What should we help people develop so that we can be successful as a company? And I was interested basically in one thing only, and that was how many of the competencies that have been identified independently by companies around the world and in many different sectors are purely cognitive, IQ-like abilities, and how many mix cognitive and emotional capacities. And those are the emotional intelligence ones. And I found that for jobs of all kinds, basically at every level, these emotional intelligence competencies were more important in predicting who would become outstanding. The ratio was about 2 to 1. The higher you went in the organization, the more it mattered. So for top leaders, you look at a competence model of the abilities that we've identified in outstanding leaders here, 80 to 90% of them are in the emotional intelligence domain. IQ turns out to be a threshold ability. Particularly, of course, here at Google, it's explicitly so. You need to be smart enough to get in the game. Once you're in the game, however, what is it that is going to allow you to become an emergent leader? Going to allow you to become the person who is most effective? And here it turns out these other abilities start to factor in a major way. These are what are called distinguishing competencies.